Good evening and welcome to Face to Face for the Newsfirst team. I'm Niresh Eliathambi. We have with us this evening Mr. Nuwan Bopage, who is a well-known attorney at law, and he represents the People's Struggle Alliance. Good evening, Nuwan.
Good evening.
Welcome back to Face to Face. Right, so let's talk about the local government elections, because that's coming up. 6th of May is the election date. That's not very long, is it? What is it, about 7 weeks from now? Your party, the People's Struggle Alliance, how are you all faring in your preparations and your campaign?
Yes, People's Struggle Alliance, we have given nomination for around 159 local authorities. So
almost half the local authorities.
Almost half. So actually on the ground level, we are trying to broaden our views, and actually our People's Struggle Alliance manifesto policy among the people. And we are having this election is very important because you have to go to ground level when the working places, schools, even in bus stations, all these places are concerned. It's very important in a local authority election because we can very easily address the ground level. So using that opportunity, so we are trying to promote our policies. At the same time, we believe the way that this government is going on, we have to give some sort of red alarm to this government, because in their manifesto they have promised various things but they were unable to meet. At the same time, the economic policy is concerned, it's now completely going towards the neoliberal economic policy. With that, it's very clear the people will be suffered a lot. So in these circumstances, we actually inviting people to give that strong message to government. As long as you are not willing to fulfill the aspirations of the people, people are ready to even, if necessary that to change this government as well towards a most progressive rule. So therefore we are using this opportunity to address these points.
Now, when you say the aspirations of the people, can we get down to some specifics? What is it now? Of course, the people demanded system change. They've been demanding it for 3 years or more, because the system was abused, the system was changed for the worse over a couple of decades, and the system ceased to function and drove the country into bankruptcy, and about a third of the people were driven into poverty. So of course the public wanted the system to be changed, but change to what? And that's not something that the public could actually sort of point to and say we want this and that.
Yes.
That's something that political leaders have to come up with. So what exactly do you mean that when you talk about what the public's aspirations are?
Of course, now the recent bankruptcy or the collapse of the economy has not happened overnight. So it was a result of the economic policy which has been maintained for last 4 decades. So mainly now President came to the parliament and made a speech 1 week ago during the budget debate. What he specifically said, now there is a economic policy which they are going to follow, that basically IMF agenda. Whoever going against that, whoever want to get rid from this IMF agenda, he has mentioned as enemies of the government, rather enemies of the country. That's how he framed it. So in other words, he said the only solution is IMF agenda. That means the neoliberal economic policy. Who are the segments of the society asking to exit from IMF or deviate from IMF? Most the progressive movements and the left movement of the country only demanding to exit IMF. There are certain reasons for that. So what the president indicate, the left movement of the country and the progressive movement of the country are now enemies of the government as long as they are fighting against the IMF agenda. In other words, neoliberal economic policy. Who are the segment of the society or people who are praising this economic policy? You know, Ranil Wickremesinghe praising that. Malik Samaravikrama praising that. The Indrajit Kumaraswamy made a speech and said this is the only way we should go. Then Duminda Hulangamu, the advisor of the president, then the governor of the central bank, and Mr. Sirivaradana, the secretary to the finance ministry, former secretary of the finance ministry. So these are the people who are appraising the path of the government, especially the IMF agenda, who are the directly neoliberal agents of the country. Then first of all, we are asking the people whether when you were giving voting for NPP, what was your aspiration? Your aspiration is to reject the previous agendas, especially the neoliberal agendas, and bring the country back to progressive, people-oriented economy. Now it is clear the president's view is whoever against his policies, against these economic policies, are enemies of the country. So then, first of all, the economy is the most paramount important thing. Economy is concerned, it's very clear, is going the same path which Ranil Wickremesinghe followed and the previous government followed. So therefore, that's why we threw out inviting people, you have to give clear message to the president and the government, no, this is not your aspiration, it should be people-oriented economy, just economy. Then there are certain examples for that. Why the progressive movements and left movement against the IMF policy? Because that was against the people of the working class of this country. Why we are saying that? They came here to give us security to the ISB holders or creditors of the country. In order to do that, there are certain conditions they impose. First of all, they ask us to match the nominal GDP of Sri Lanka to the dollar rate to give prominence to creditors. At the same time, they ask us to bring back the debt rate of the country to 95% out of the GDP. If we, how we could do that? People have to sacrifice. People have to pay taxation.
But don't you think people have sacrificed enough already? I mean, a third of Sri Lankans almost were below the poverty line.
Exactly.
The global poverty line. People had to take second jobs, third jobs. I mean, that is still going on.
Yes. That's what I'm going to say now. Through these sacrifices only, you can bring back it to 95%, because we have to pay to foreign creditors for debt installments. In order to pay that, people have to pay taxation, both direct and indirect tax. So once it come to 95%, the local debt has come down to 95% of the GDP. Who should be benefited out of that? The people who sacrificing for that. But IMF proposes, if it has come down to 95%, you have to pay more to the creditors, more interest, and the haircut will be reduced from it will be increased, because you have to pay more to the creditors if it has come back bring down to 95%. At the same time, IMF always having a conflict of interest, because IMF also gave us around $4 billion for 6.5% interest. So we have to pay that as well. At the same time, the interest rates are very high because of the IMF. No reduction of VAT. Actually, government wanted to reduce that. No reduction of VAT. At the same time, now 2 days ago, President himself made a statement that they are going to completely shut down certain government institutions and amalgamate certain government institutions, and this is completely IMF agenda. So these agendas are going on. Because of these reasons only, progressive movements and left movements are opposing this agenda. So therefore, the people will be definitely, this will be detrimental to the people, because you have to pay more taxes, and you know your income has drastically gone down, but according to the budget statement, now taxation is concerned, you have to pay more 8,500 rupees during the next year as taxation because it has been increased. But your salaries have not been increased, especially the private sector. There's no any clue that they are going to increase the salaries. Government sector also, there's no considerable salary increment. So then,
but the budget has an increase
so
for the
that is
government
insufficient because the base technically it increased only 8,750 rupees. That is also by 3 installment, 2000 up to until 2028 by 3 stages only. This will be also given. So therefore, there is no considerable salary increment. Although the people are sacrificing a lot, no benefit could be given through this budget. Therefore, next year also will be very difficult year. So in that scenario only, we are asking people, we have to mobilize, we have to gather, demanding certain things from this government.
So what specifically would you want changed? I mean, yes, a lot of people aren't happy. The cost of living remains very high. And you know, as far as most people are concerned, their lives, there hasn't been a huge amount of change for people personally, you know, apart from certain segments.
Yes.
So if you are under Aswasuma, for example, there is a tangible increase in what you're getting. But for the majority of people,
Yes.
There wasn't such a big difference. There are other differences in perhaps in governance. We can now drive down the road without getting thrown off the road by a convoy of 10 vehicles who are escorting some ex-provincial council member, you know. So that kind of thing is there now, that there is perhaps more freedom in that sense, but these are fundamental freedoms. That's you know, something we should have anyway. But what other tangible sort of initiatives would you be advocating?
Of course, now as you said, one of the main reasons that people have given this kind of mandate to NPP, actually they have, before the election, they have raised their voice against corruption and good governance. As you remember, in 2015 also, that was the aspiration of people. That government itself was named as good governance for Yapalane.
Yes, but then the practical matter of it was something
even,
quite different.
Yeah, even the Yapalane government in first stages, they did certain things. But later on, they were unable to meet the aspiration of the people. So if the certain changes in the political culture, it's good. We have to appreciate that. Appreciate means NPP government has no any other option. They should do that. They should do that. Otherwise, people won't give this much of mandate to them. But the corruption is not the only thing that you could change the society. Corruption is one. Of course, corruption has some sort of role, but the economy. What is your economy policy? So where you are going to drive this country, as to how you are steering the economy is the most important thing. That's why earlier I have given certain example. Now, for instance, how to collect unpaid taxation of the corporations of this country. According to the statistic, 1,068 billion US dollar, 1,068 billion rupees. There are unpaid taxes by the main corporation. So So how to recover these things? So there's no considerable concern about that. This government is concerned. And on the other hand, from the budget, they have given opportunity those who evaded payment of tax, giving 6-month grace period of time, pay taxation without fine or interest. According to law, you have to pay 18% interest for unpaid taxation and 25% fine. So government wanted to give that concession to these corporations who defaulted payment of taxation. As a result of that, the government lost rupees 500,000 million. On the other hand, taxation imposed to general public, VAT, there is no reduction of VAT. At the same time, withholding tax has been increased from 5% to 10%. Those who were, especially the senior citizens who were living, taking some interest from deposit, have to pay 10% now. At the same time, what happened was their interest, that deposit for their interest has been reduced to 8% from 15%. So they are in a severe difficulties to living. So people are suffering now. Even their manifesto, they have promised this Bosat Ratak Lasana Jeevitaya to bring back to the 0% the taxation for essential food items, medicine, school items, but they were unable to do that. So what we are asking, first of all, why you are not willing to recover these unpaid taxes of the corporation? You can't do that because their main advisor, economic advisor, Dumindu Lankamo, is the basically head of the Board of Investment.
Mr. Hulangamo is of course not with us today, so you
of course
have to take responsibility.
But I am saying now the people who are, yes, of course, people who advising them, representing that the benefit, the privileged class. So with that advice only, they frame this, actually they drafted this particular budget proposals. So therefore, what we are demanding in this budget, you should first give your prominence to general public, working class of this country, and you have to reduce VAT. At the same time, in lieu of that, what you have to recover the unpaid taxes, and you have to remove all the concessions given to these corporations. Through that only, you can stabilize this economy by giving benefit to the general public. But this government is not willing to do that. Democracy is concerned also, same thing. In this Pohasat Ratak Lasana Jeevitaya, they promised to abolish PTA, abolish online safety bill. So at least now for during last 4 months, there are they were unable to bring any law inside this parliament for last 4 months. So they had 4 months time to bring immediately certain laws. If they cannot bring laws, at least to bring some laws to abolish these undemocratic draconian laws. No, they were unable to do that. Let's forget all these things. At least they did not change parliament standing orders. Still, women cannot wear red color or dark color sari. At least their MPs, the JVP MPs, they can't wear red shirt. At least this president can't wear a double pocket shirt inside the parliament. Let's forget all the other things. At least bring a law to change these kind of things favorable to you. Nothing. So this government was unable to bring a single law during past 4 months. So either anti-corruption, either to abolish the laws. Therefore, that's why we think we should give strong message to this government next election.
Now let's look at state-owned enterprises. Now the previous regime under President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the time, they had certain policies saying that they are going to restructure a lot of corporations, including the CEB, and actually break it up into smaller units, and perhaps privatize some of those and so on. But now this has been reversed. But it is the state sector which dragged down the country's, the government basically, because there are over 1.5 million state sector employees. And when you have so many, and the corruption is rampant, basically the country can't afford to have such a huge public sector. What are your views on that? Now, I know that you're not going to be in favor of privatization, but certainly you have to agree that we can't afford to have 1.5 million people sitting around, half of them sitting around, the other half are working. I mean, you walk into a Pradesh Sabha office, what do you see? Who's working? I mean, I will guarantee you that 9 times out of 10 you will find somebody who's sleeping, you know, and that's quite normal. Yeah?
The thing is this, now technically if you get a holistic measurement of these cadres, always our government sector is concerned, we are lack of people to work certain things. Especially, you know, even
those are the skilled positions. For example, the Minister of Justice 2 weeks ago was on this program and said the AG's department lacks lawyers, especially the senior state council level. So that's understood. And the legal draftsman's department lacks people to draft the laws. So those are skilled positions.
Of course.
But we have all kinds of people in unskilled positions who have spent years in the state sector and they haven't learned any skills at all.
Rather than it's a excess of cadres, it's an issue of management. For instance,
no, but no, I mean, for a country of 22 million people, you don't have 1.5 million in the state sector.
I got your point. Now, for certain areas, as you said, maybe Attorney General Department, Inland Revenue Department, and Sri Lanka Teachers Service. So we are lack of cadres. So that is there. At the same time, because of the certain policies or certain behaviors of the previous government, there are certain institutions, there is a excess cadre. So merely because these kind of behaviors, you cannot target and criticize the entire government service. So we have to actually expand government service more. The issue is the management. So actually this government has to take certain steps for to manage regarding the management of this government sector. At the same time, now
when you say management
means now, for instance, now there are internal, you can do certain internal changes, internal transfers with these institutions. For instance, I am handling certain cases of Sri Lanka Engineering Corporation. So there are excess of cadres at one time, is one of the main issues. At the same time, there are parallel other institutions like CECB. So there are lack of cadres, but the same field. So you can exchange these and have proper management. Sri Lanka Teachers Service like that, because there are around 50,000 development officers who are working, graduates who are working in government institutions. At the same time, teacher service concerned, there is a shortage of 40,000 teachers. So why you cannot absorb these development officers to teacher service? You can do this.
No,
within the framework.
Yes, I agree with you on that point. But you have to reskill these people.
Yes.
Just because you are a graduate with a BA or a BSc or something like that doesn't qualify you to teach. Teaching is a specific.
Yeah. Why I have given that example? The around 25 development officers are there who have been working in school as teachers for last 3 years.
25,000.
25,000. So government can, because they have that experience now, skills and everything.
Yes, but you see, there has to be some formal education on how to teach.
Yes. Yes.
You know, that's why they are called educators.
Exactly.
So even if they have spent 3 years teaching in schools, I would put it to you that they still lack the formal skills on how to teach.
That's why I'm saying now, rather than complaining, now there are certain blunders which have been done for last 3 decades. So how to get out from this is the challenge. No?
Yes.
So now you cannot just complain that there are the excessive staffs or these cadres. How to bring proper management to this system and handling this is the challenge that NPP has. But the thing is, now what they are going to do, they are going to shut down now 12 institutions which are not profitable, So now let's assume now we file a case before the Supreme Court against the privatization of telecom, one of the profitable corporation, and Sri Lanka Insurance, one of the profitable corporation. So that was why they are going to sell. If the issue is they are non-profitable institutions, why you are going to sell first these profitable institutions? This has been part and parcel with another agenda, neoliberal agenda. That's what we are saying. You said about the Sri Lanka, the electricity board. They earn around 50 billion US dollar, 50 billion rupees profit during last 1 year. Then it's profitable now.
But at the same time, our electricity costs are among the highest in Asia,
yes.
Which is one of the reasons that foreign investors won't come in here. Local investors want to leave.
The indication given.
So that has to be reduced. I mean, if the CEB is having excess profits, that is a damning indictment of the role of the CEB in wrecking this the country's economy.
Yes, that's of course. Now, what I want to raise now, what's the indication? So you can convert this institution to profitable institutions. Then who will be benefited out of that?
But you can't convert it by simply putting a further burden, like raising electricity rates, or now in the case of a Pradeshya Sabha, to make it, to generate more revenue. You can simply say, okay, whatever licenses people require, like local trade licenses, we'll increase the amount. But that's not the way to do it. You have to better manage it.
Exactly. Now management is concerned. Now, of course, now what I want to raise, now certain institutions you can convert into profitable institutions. So you, rather than cursing to previous government, now you have a mandate, you do that. But the indication given by the president, no, they are not willing to do that. So these institutions are, the common perspective is, common ideology created by the neoliberalism is, you have to, government should not do businesses, you have to sell all those. Now this government also going to adhere that. So ultimately, for instance, once you privatize or sell all these government institutions on the basis that those are not profitable, ultimately, once again, people have to pay anyway. For instance, if the electricity board is privatized, completely privatized, what the Ranil Wickremesinghe wanted to do, then the people doesn't have power to negotiate with them. Now it's with the government, of course, there are certain mechanisms to negotiate with government and do certain things.
But I mean, I think the CEB is a bad example. I get what you're saying, but I think the CEB is a bad example because you can't negotiate with them. I mean, basically, if you are just a few weeks overdue on your bill, you get a notice saying they are going to come and cut it.
Yes.
But then we also know the same CEB allows politicians to run up millions in their bills. So, how if they are going to come and cut my electricity just because I'm a couple of weeks late in paying it, can I tell those guys, hey, how about Minister X and Minister Y? Because there's no negotiating position. The CEB has been a law unto itself. It has, and it was part of ruining this country, including under the Ranil Wickremesinghe regime. So, I mean, if you talk to a foreign investor, soon as they see the cost of energy, they don't come here.
What I meant, as long as a part of the government, at least people have some sort of demanding power, because the government is anyway, the power has been given by the people to that particular government. At least people can demand certain things. For instance, now let's assume this now renewable energy sector. Throughout, there are the one segment of officials that they want to resist renewable energy, like the solar power. So why? Because the coal tenders and other certain things there, that always they earn profit out of that from the pocket of the people. So these kind of agendas are still there. But now recently, what the indication given by the government, they are not going to encourage this renewable energy like solar power. According to now recently, that they reduce the unit price of the solar power which they are purchasing from outsiders. So as a result of that, they are discouraging that. At the same time, Adani's project is concerned. That is not profitable to the country. So that ultimately the profit is going to India, another company. So people resisted that. In Mana, people fought for that. As long as this is part of the government, of course, people can resist it. As a result of that, now there's a Supreme Court matter. So Supreme Court has given a stay order even. Then suddenly Adani said now they are going to withdraw this project. What this government did, they went to meet them, ambassador, and they bow down in front of them and asked him to not to go. Then again he made a statement, no, they are not going to withdraw from that. So whatever decisions that favorable to people, now they are going to completely reverse because of these certain advisors who are running this particular government as well. So that is not, as far as the people's side is concerned, that is not a good indication. So this privatization decision also like that, whatever decisions that taken by Ranil Wickremesinghe regime together with IMF, now this government, the indication what given by the government is they are going to continue with that. So that is not favorable to the people.
Interesting points indeed. We need to take a short commercial break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
In the heart of Anamadua, lives are changing. For years, patients traveled miles for life-saving treatments, but not anymore. Gammatha renovated a building to establish a dialysis unit at the Anamadua Base Hospital and constructed another building to house a medical-grade water purification system. Gammatha, for the people, by the people. අනුරාධපුර යුගයට අයත් ක්‍රිස්තු වර්ෂ 5 වැනි සියවසේදී ධාතුසේන රජතුමා විසින් නිර්මාණය කරන ලද අවකන බුදු පිළිමය කලාවැවට බටහිර දෙසින් ගල්නෑවට නුතුරින් පිහිටා ඇති දෙස් විදෙස් ආකර්ෂණීය ලද බෞද්ධයින්ගේ වන්දනාවට පාත්‍ර වන සුවිශේෂී ශෛලමය නිර්මාණයක්.
ලොවක් මවිත කළ මෙවන් කලා නිර්මාණයන්ගෙන් හෙවි රජරටපුරවරේ ගල්නෑවට මෙවර Sirasa වසන්ත උදානය අරගෙන අපි එනවා.
Welcome back. I'm with Nuwan Bopage, attorney at law, who represents the People's Struggle Alliance. Now, Nuwan, anti-corruption, and this is something that everybody agreed with, except the corrupt people. And now that this NPP is in office, they are expected to make a huge dent in corruption in this country. And we do see certain activities happening on the part of the CID, on the part of the Attorney General, on the part of judges, where we see a few prominent people being arrested. That is happening. There are several ministers behind bars in remand as we speak. There are cases against some of the members of the Rajapaksa family, but we don't see anything dramatic yet. Perhaps we will see in the near future, because it does take time to gather the evidence and to make a case which will stand up in court, basically. But what's your view on this?
So, the corruption is concerned, there are certain prevailing laws. Anti-Corruption Act recently passed by the government in 2023. Apart from that, actually we need new laws which we could constructively resist the corruption. So the government should immediately take steps to bring these laws first. At the same time, there are certain presidential commissions. Presidential commission means there are two types of commissions which under 1947 Act. So these commissions, of course, these are just for fact finding. So you cannot file indictments or initiate litigation merely because based on the findings of these commissions, general commissions.
They are fact finding.
But from 1978 Act gave strong powers to special presidential commissions. Of course, you can take certain actions regarding civic status of these culprits and immediately file indictments in High Court. So corruption is now recently the bond scam is one of the major corruption which happened in Sri Lanka. So there is a special presidential commission report. So rather than waiting, based on that, this government can immediately take action against that. So there are certain other, regarding the Stat Act, there is a commission report. So at least based on the available materials, this government can start certain things and give some sort of message to the government and culprits. Now we are in the process of doing certain things. At the same time, certain investigation has already been done regarding certain corruption incidents. Regarding the previous ministers and certain characters of this government. As I remember, Mr. Wasantha, the Minister of Cooperative Society, Vasant Samarsinghe, he has openly mentioned certain names just before the election. So then of course they made a big media, the event, bringing around 400 files, keeping it on the table. We have credible materials to prove these corruptions. This is same JVP. So it means they have materials. Then CID has already been concluded certain files, investigations. Those are available. So why they cannot take immediate actions? Because I think always now I firmly believe there is a conflict of interest. Even this government is concerned. Why you can't take action against Ranil Wickremesinghe? Why you can't take actions against Tiranalas? Why you can't take action against the people who, based on the available materials? I think this government has a conflict of interest. They are not willing to take actions against them. They have certain, connections with them. So that is, even the anti-corruption is concerned. Now what we feel, nothing will be happen unless the people who gave this mandate to this government protest and demand immediate actions to be taken against these corruptions. That's why we believe people's powers is very important.
But now the people continue to struggle on a day-to-day basis. This is of course the result of decades of mismanagement on the part of political leaders. And you can't expect the NPP government to, change everything overnight. So while people are preoccupied with their daily lives, can we really expect people to start protesting, in a big way? I mean, there will always be small-scale protests.
Yeah.
But that's one of the problems in this country, isn't it? I mean, while massive decisions were taken with massive impact on the people and the economy, which drove this country into bankruptcy, the number of people who were protesting publicly was quite not enough. I mean,
yes.
For example, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's absolutely harebrained decision to ban chemical fertilizer. I mean, everybody knew it was wrong, or almost anyone with a brain in his head, really. But we didn't see, yes, there were farmer protests in some areas and so on, but this is the kind of decision, if you did something like this in many other countries, the government would be thrown out of power by the farmers. I mean, we see, in Paris, in Brussels, you take a decision which is adverse to farmers, they show up in the capital city with all their tractors and they block the city streets and so on. Creating, that is the amount of power they have. But here in Sri Lanka, I mean, have we ever seen any kind of protest like that in Colombo? I mean, it took the entire country to be ground to a halt in 2022 before people actually got activated.
Yeah, with the recent change of the political situation of this country, I think what the government also on certain occasions, certain functions, what even the president has clearly stated that this is a people's government. So we are not going to bound down anybody else other than the people. So what even we during our campaign, what we said, how to build people's power outside of these institutions. What we ask people, don't give blank checks to these politicians. Always try to keep the power with you. I think that is the ideal system we believe. Even though now the general perception, as you said, there is a government, we will give you the power, we will give a blank check, you do the things for next 5 years, so we wait and see. So that system was utter failure.
Absolutely.
Utter failure. So what we believe now, anyway, one good thing is there's some sort of democratic phase now, the breathing space now, because NPP, it's not easy NPP government to suppress like other political parties, because they have a history of fighting. So therefore what...
But this breathing space for freedom of expression was not something given by anyone. It was carved out by the people in 2022, in 2023, and so on. And despite the Ranil Wickremesinghe regime clamping down on dissent and arresting so many people, still they were unable to suppress it. So this is that spirit which continues.
Exactly. Now our political vision and now what our main target is, the 2024, the victory of NPP is not a mere victory of that particular political party, because the people rejected all the previous political culture and people wanted more democratic space. So as a result of only NPP came to power. Now our next step should be how to broaden this power and give us some sort of constructive meaning to that particular people's power. So in order to that, you have to bring a new constitution, expand the fundamental rights, expand the people's power. At the same time, how to bring more democratic powers to these institutions. In order to do these things, you have to fight in your day-to-day life, because now you cannot say just we gave this power to NPP, let's wait next 5 years. No, nothing will be happen, because now the situation, the way that the situation is folding is now slowly this government, the system is going to absorb this government. That is what happening now, slowly, gradually that is happening. So if we can bring people's power to the surface only, we cannot deviate this government from the previous political culture and to get certain things for the betterment of the people.
Now, Nuwan, we have the local government elections coming up, and that is a very key step forward in democracy, because the previous two regimes simply postponed the elections.
Yes.
Which, I mean, if you are a government which postpones elections, you are not democratic.
Yes.
It may be even legal to do so. I think not the last government, but the previous one used its powers to extend to postpone the election by 1 year.
Yes.
But then the next government didn't have the election at all.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court has very clearly ruled on this one, finding that that regime had no such powers to do that. But now we are going to have our these are the people's councils, the Gram Sabhas, in operation as Pradeshya Sabhas, as urban councils, and as municipal councils. Don't you see this as a huge step forward in democracy, which again is not something anybody is giving the people, it is something which is the people's sovereign right.
Yes.
That's what sovereignty means in the constitution. Not sovereignty is not a word you just take home and you keep it on your pillow. This is sovereignty. The ability to tell somebody whom you elected, look, the street lamps need to be replaced. These potholes have to be repaired. The school needs a library. We need a nursery. Things like that.
Yeah, of course. Now, there's no doubt election is one kind of reflection of a democracy. So, but we never think the election is the only way of exercising the democracy. Going beyond that, as to how people could contribute to decision making process of the government in day-to-day life.
Exactly. Participatory democracy.
Of course. Now the local authorities election is concerned, so there's a election. After that, parties will take the power inside these institutions. The previous experience is whoever get the power, they know how to take tenders, they know how to manipulate the system, and they know how to earn out of that. So that was the previous culture. Now with this 2024 power change, now the people has some sort of trust. Now that culture cannot be maintained anymore. It's not 100% correct opinion, but to a certain extent now people put that their pressure on that. But what we believe, we have to think beyond that. In day-to-day life, taxation is from higher point, from taxation and up to the construction of your village road, as to how people could contribute to that.
So you're talking about participatory democracy, which is exactly what I meant.
So in order to achieve that level, we need certain more new laws, because the existing laws always supporting the party politics, not the participatory.
But do you really think that new laws will sort it, or is it simply that the system as it should be run should run? Because what happened, Nuwan, is this: you have politicians elected as they have the majority in the Pradeshya Sabha, and then the chairman and a few those in his party will control, and then there's very little that the people can do about it. If you send a letter, it's not answered.
Yes.
If you try to go and meet the chairman of the Pradeshya Sabha, well, he's there surrounded by about 5 thugs. That's what happened, because these politicians were making so much money that they could afford to have 5 thugs, and then the local police OIC is also in their pocket. That was the situation. So people couldn't actually go and do anything. So to the credit of the NPP, now you don't get these gangs of political thugs surrounding any politician. So that's to the NPP's credit, but that is exactly as it should be.
Exactly.
So do you believe that now, after the 6th of May, when we will then have all these authorities,
technically,
then people can actually go and knock on the chairman's door and talk to him directly?
Yeah, that's what we are saying. Technically, nothing will be changed as long as people believe that they have power. Now, for instance, now one of the main allegations against the NPP is now they are parliamentarian and they are ministers. They are not answering the phones. People do not have access to them. On the other hand, this budget speech is concerned, there's no any clue to say that prior to presenting this budget, at least this president has presented it before their MPs, 159 MPs are there, and asked, I am going to present this budget, whether you being the representative of the people, you are agreeable on this. Nothing, no discussion at all. Now these are that's why I said the system going to absorb them.
No, that's an interesting point. Yes. Because as far as we know, that was not done.
Yes.
But I have to make the point that even previous regimes did not show the entire budget to their MPs.
Then what's the change of the society?
Because you know, in previous years, we as media, we would ask members, the MPs from that party, yes, what's going to be in the budget, and they said, we don't know.
Exactly. General idea of the parliament, people cannot take decisions. That's why they are sending their representatives. That is the idea. The previous experience is one class or one segment of people get together and take decisions. Now, why the people change the regime, the previous political culture, even people without knowing the person for the first time, people voted for Malimau. So some parliamentarian, they don't know even who are these parliament. Why? At least this government, the president should present it to their parliamentarian, ask what are the areas that should be changed, whether this IMF agenda is correct to be done. Nothing has been happened. So these are the indication that system is going to absorb them. In a situation like that, people's power is very important. Through people's power only, you can give certain strong messages to government not to deviate to the previous political culture.
Well, let's talk about very briefly, because we are running out of time, your party's campaign strategy. How are you going to do it? You know, now thankfully we are getting away from that culture of printing a lot of posters and putting people's faces and numbers on three-wheelers and vehicles and so on. How exactly is your campaign going to be run?
Yeah, actually the presidential election, then general election, and now local authorities election. So our party is concerned as policy wise, we have to maintain same policy. Nothing has to be changed because we are believing socialist economic system, at the same time more democratic governance. So as you said, participatory democracy. At the same time, we always advocating about the concrete solution for national question. These are the main things. So we are going to villages and the ground level with these messages. At the same time, we need new leaders from the bottom of the society. So using this election, actually from the ground level, we are finding new leaders to lead the country, to steer the society. So we are doing that. So we are in our propaganda campaign, we are going house to house and addressing the public issues. At the same time, certain issues are confined to that particular region, area. So we are addressing these issues as well. So for instance, now there are serious issues regarding the mineral in this country, because certain companies now taking rapid actions to grab these minerals. So certain villages are now suffering because of this. So we are addressing these issues as well. At the same time, common issues regarding the cost of living, education and privatization of institutions. So we are addressing these things as well. So what we addressing, whatever vote that you are going to give for People's Struggle Alliance, on one side it's it's a vote for you. At the same time, it's a vote that giving strong message to this government to accomplish the aspiration of the people.
Excellent. And I'm afraid we are out of time tonight. My thanks to my guest Nuwan Bopage, attorney at law who represents the People's Struggle Alliance. Thank you very much, Nuwan, for being with us. And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away because the news is coming up next, as always. Have a great evening.